Hello everyone. We will start as usual with a little bit introduction and provide some more context for those who do not know us yet. First of all, thanks for joining today in our JEE Expertise webinar. And hello everyone. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. Welcome, yes. And I'm a little bit bigger, yes, I wanted to introduce myself. And I'm the outgoing Secretary General of Joint Enterprises Europe. I'm 22 years old, coming from France. And yeah, we are in our term at the end of the term, ending in the beginning of August. And with these three other members of the Executive Board, Florian, Natasha, and Anton, we took a gap year in our studies to live and work together full-time as volunteers in Brussels to share the responsibility of integrating, supporting, and represent the network of 30,000 Jewish entrepreneurs in 14 European countries. We're currently in the middle of the handover. As you can see, I'm with someone else next to me. And I will therefore pass the word to my successor, Julius Scherler.
Yeah, so warm welcome from myself. From Germany, 22 years old, and incoming president of Junior Enterprise Europe for the next term, which is 2020-2021. Here you can see my team. So I will work in the next year with Milton, Benzo, and Tatiana. We all have departments allocated to us. So my responsibilities will be strategy, public affairs, and network development. That's the areas I will work on. But just to clarify for you, because we all come from different countries and it might look different, we define a junior enterprise as a non-profit organization formed and managed exclusively by university students, which provide services for companies, institutions, and individuals. So they are similar to real companies, with the main goal of enhancing the learning of their members through practical experience. It's quite interesting to see how we define it on a European level, because it's a little bit different in your experience. And what we try to do is that we have an impact at 3 levels: academia, the business world, and society. Right now we're in the 2nd year of our strategic cycle, and we have these 3 strategic pillars: development, integration, and recognition. And as you can see, we try to increase our visibility, but we also try to do best practice exchange and recognize those who do very well in our network, and that's what we have the Excellence Awards for. And to share the best practices, we now started to do this webinar series with the international and national Excellence Awards winners. So we're very proud that we can now have this way to share more best practices and foster synergies in our network. And yes, I will now let Sarah Farias, our training manager, take over. She's working remotely from Portugal, and she will introduce you the trainers in online training today. So to everyone who's watching, we hope you will enjoy this learning experience and see you in another JEE Expertise webinar.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Julius, and good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Farias, and I'm the actual training manager. I'm the responsible to organizing these webinars and other online trainings, and you can check them in our YouTube channel. Today we have Nova Junior Consulting. They are junior enterprises from Portugal, and during this year they won European Excellence Award, the most impactful project. And the topic that we have today is recruitment in strategy consulting. This webinar, it will cover several topics, including the candidate's profile, how good candidate should be, and management of the entire process. Today we have Mara, Francisco, and Ricardo from Nova Junior Consulting. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you learn a lot with them. And yeah, the stage is yours, and I hope Mara, Francisco, and Ricardo, you enjoy this training too. And I want to thank you for accepting this challenge with us. And yeah, so the stage is yours. And
thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Today we will be talking about recruitment processes, specifically related to strategy consulting. First of all, thank you to JEE Europe for inviting us. It's a great honor to have our value recognized like this, and a big thank you to all of you that are here today. So this is our agenda for today. We'll begin by finding out a little bit more about Nova Engineering Consulting, and then we will explain how the recruitment process is at Nova Engineering Consulting. Then we'll compare it and find out how it compares to strategy consulting firms. And then we will share some insights about the process in these firms and how to prepare for them. So now let's begin with the quick introduction. Nova Engineering Consulting is the junior enterprise of Nova School of Business and Economics. Our members are students from the fields of management, economics, and finance, and thus we provide services in strategic, financial, and the management areas. This slide really tells you all you need to know about NJC. So we come from Nova SBE, which is Portugal's #1 business school and one of the best in Europe. It has the prestigious Triple Crown accreditation and is part of the SEMS Alliance. All our work has verified quality and is guided by an advisory board composed of 6 Nova SBE professors. We have as partners Kearney and Deloitte, and we have received the quality certification for 2020 from JEE Portugal. Over the past 8 years that we have operated, we have worked with a wide variety of clients in over 70 projects. We work from startups to big national and international companies. And also every semester, as part of our social responsibility program, we also do pro bonos for NGOs. And finally, what brings us here today, which is our talent, our people. We are very proud of our members. They are Nova SBE's top students because they have to go through a really extensive and tough recruitment process before they can join NJC. And this has allowed us to have a network of alumni of over 200 people, most of them working in top companies in the industry and in consulting. So specifically more about consulting, this is a number that we are very proud of. Out of every summer intern in Portugal, 25% of summer interns in Portugal in top tier strategic consulting firms come from NJC. We believe this number is extremely remarkable, given that every year we have around 15 eligible people for these internships, and they are up against over 600 students from the top business schools in Portugal from which these companies recruit. After their internships, every NJC member has received an offer to work there full-time, so we are also very proud of this. And here on the right, you have these numbers a little bit more detailed about companies. So as you can see, a great share of our alumni end up working in companies as BCG, McKinsey, Kearney, and Bain. In this case, we have Kearney included here because it is considered a top tier in Portugal because Bain doesn't have any offices in Portugal. Also, these numbers are quite significant because offices in Portugal are very small. So from consultant to partner, there are usually around 50 people. So we are really proud of these numbers. Now let's find out a little bit more about us that are here to present to you today. So my name is Ricardo Nogueira. I've just finished my Bachelors in Management at Nova SBE. Next fall semester, I will begin my Masters in Management, and I will also be taking part in the SAMS MIM program. I've been at NJC since my first year. At first, I joined as a consultant. I've also been Director of Operations, Internal Vice President, and right now, I've taken on the responsibility of being President. Here is my contact, so if you need anything from me, feel free to reach me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Male. I have done my Bachelor's in Economics at Nova, and I am currently doing my Master's in Finance. I joined NJC in February 2019. I started as a consultant, and later I joined the board of directors as a human resources director, which was something that I really loved, actually. And now I am the internal vice president at NJC, and I hope you really enjoyed this session.
Okay, good morning. My name is Francisco. I'm actually not a member of NJC anymore. I left 2 weeks ago. at the end of my term. I was president during this past year. I was also before president, I was strategy director and a consultant. So I joined NJC almost 3 years ago. I did my bachelor in economics at Nova SB, and then I took my master's in finance with the SAMSMEN program at the same school. So you also have my email. Feel free to contact me or by email, LinkedIn, and also to clarify your questions here during the session.
Okay, so let's now start with our recruitment process at NJC. We want to share with you this sentence here. So nothing we do is more important than hiring and developing people. And at the end of the day, you bet on people and not on strategies. At NJC, we look for excellence, teamwork, integrity, and entrepreneurship. So for you to have the best talent with you, you need to first define what is the candidate profile you are looking for. We look for the best students. We look for people with business sense, people with time management skills. This is basically volunteer work, and they need to have this responsibility and this commitment. We look for people with critical thinking, people that value teamwork, people with a professional posture. They will be dealing with our clients, and our image is really important. And above all, we look for motivated people. We really believe that motivation is key. If you are motivated, you can grow, you can develop yourself, and you can be at your best. Starting with a little overview of our process, we have two similar processes, but they have some differences. We have our process for bachelor students, and what you need to do is to fill in an online form with their personal information, their experiences, their fit, and in the end, their motivation. If they are successful in this phase, they move on to the group dynamics, in which they are divided in some groups and they solve a business case. After that, they have a case interview, which is really similar to the one in strategy consulting. Of course, the level of difficulty here varies accordingly to the year they are in. And in the end, they have a motivational assessment, which is a small talk with a member of our presidency, just to align expectations and to see their motivation and commitment. For master students, the difference here is that they send us their CV and cover letter. They do not have the group dynamics, but they have the interview and also the motivational assessment. Of course, the level of difficulty in the interview is also different. So starting with the first phase, it is really useful, especially in the management of the process, because you can already select your candidates. You will not be wasting resources with candidates that actually do not fit. You can do a pre-selection, let's say. And here we are looking for motivation, especially in the bachelor's level, let's say. In masters, things are a little bit more competitive because they need to have experiences. They need to have some quality. They need to have professional experiences. And we also evaluate this. One thing that I would like to mention is that we have this difference. We do not ask a CV to a bachelor student because, for example, a first-year student does not have as much experiences as a master student, or at least is not expected to. And here we assess the quality of their answers, the structure of the cover letter, for example. We can see the effort that they put on the first phase of the process. After this phase, in case of a bachelor student, we have a group dynamics, as I told you. So they have a group discussion here that takes 20 minutes. And they are working with a team that they do not know. They arrive there, they work with people that they haven't seen before. And we have NJC members observing what they are doing. How are they working? How are they discussing? How are they presenting their ideas? After that, they present their recommendations to a panel of NJC members, which takes more or less 5 minutes. And in the end, they have some questions. They have to answer some questions, which is more or less 10 minutes. Okay, so why do we do this phase here? Firstly, because we want to assess some core competencies. We want to see if they can actually work in a team and if they have this critical thinking. We want to see if they are flexible, if they can adapt, if they can work with people that they don't know. Because what happens is that when they join NJC, they will work with people that they actually do not know. And we need to understand if this works well for them or not. And lastly, because we are simulating a real case, which is also what they do at NJC. They solve a client's case, a client's problem. So what are we looking for here? We are looking for people that value teamwork, as I told you before, people that have problem-solving skills, people that have business sense. So we want candidates to present their ideas in a structured way and ideas that make sense, above all. So what do we assess? We assess their listening capacity also, the inputs quality, and the leadership capacity. We want people that can organize a team, but we also want people that can listen to others' ideas and that like different perspectives of what they believe or think.
So now on to the interview, and from this point onwards, the process is exactly the same for bachelor's and master's students. And the structure of the interview is also the same. Of course, we are more demanding with master's students, but the process is now the same. So we begin the interview by asking a few personal questions. And in this part, what we really want to know is the candidate that's in front of us. It is followed by a case study, usually related to some of the things that we develop at NJC, and then a brain teaser to assess how the candidate thinks. In the end, all the candidates have time to ask us any questions, clear doubts that they have about NJC or the people interviewing them. This is aligned with the best companies in the industry, and that's one of the reasons why we do it. So in the personal part, what we really want to know is the person that is sitting in front of us. We want to understand if they are a good fit with NJC, with NJC's values, and our way of working. We also want to understand if they prepared themselves and dedicated to our recruiting process, which is quite demanding. Because one of the things that Mara mentioned is that motivation is key. And we are working on the basis of volunteering, and we all know that working in a junior enterprise can be very demanding. And especially if the work gets tough, we want people that don't give up. We want people that keep on working. And that's why we need to assess their motivation and core capabilities. Also, we want to find out about their experiences, what have they done in their lives. And here, we really like candidates that give us specific and clear examples and not just general answers. We like when they are very structured in telling us what they've done and why they feel that they are a good fit to NJC and that they are able to show us that. So up next is the case. This is probably the most important part of the interview. It is also the part that takes more time. And here we want to assess if the candidate can handle problem solving. This is something that they will have to do daily if they join us. And having a case presented to them is a very fair and quick way to analyze how they approach their thinking. Consultants need to have a very structured way of thinking, and they need to learn an industry very quickly when they are staffed on a project. So here we want to see if candidates have that ability to absorb information and make something out of it. What we are looking is slightly different between master's and bachelor students. For bachelor students, we're mostly looking if they possess a good business sense. So we want to understand if when they are facing a problem, they can think of the next steps. And even if they need some more guidance, this is okay. Because most of the times these students are rather inexperienced, and we just want to understand if they have a good business sense and motivation that can be developed later at NJC. Obviously, for the masters, you have to be a little bit more demanding. These are people that are usually expected to have more experience, maybe some internships. And so for them, we expect them to identify the problem and come up with solutions based on the information that we provide them. in a much more structured and independent way. Also, we really want these solutions to be very appropriate to the case of hand and based on what we told them. All our cases are developed from the zero by our members. Obviously, they're inspired by our experiences, by our projects, but all of these cases are entirely developed by us. In the end, we have a quick brain teaser and the Q&A part. So regarding the brain teaser, it is always related with market sizing. Here, we just want to test their line of thought, see what the candidate does in the face of the unknown. Because a lot of times, the problems are facing seem to be very abstract and they require serious thinking to make something out of it, to understand what's the concrete problem, what are the next steps. And here, this is a very good way to judge that, to understand their thought process, how they apply logic to the problems that they face, even if they don't know some variables. And it's also usually a very good moment to assess their analytical and mental math capabilities, because there's always a part of that. As for the questions, we like candidates that ask us relevant questions, which show they have researched about NJC, that they are really interested in joining us, that they are interested in the experiences that the members that are there have had so far. And finally, the last step of our recruitment process is a motivational talk. So this is a rather recent step in the process that we added specifically because, as we've told you, motivation is very important. And it's very important that our members are not only good in themselves, because most of Nova students are, but we want people that are motivated and that when they face a problem, they don't give up, and that if there's something that they don't know, they will research into it in order to find out. Taking up a degree and being part of a junior enterprise can be very demanding, and we need to make sure that our members are aligned with that. Especially because in Nova's case, we have nearly 30 different clubs, and their scopes are quite different. And NJC is very specific and much more demanding than all the others, so we really want the people applying to understand that. This phase is conducted exclusively by the members of the presidency, so either the president or one of the two vice presidents, because these are usually the more senior people at the organization, the ones that are more aligned with what we are working on, with what we will be working on in next semester. So it's the best people to do this. It's also a very good opportunity to have some proximity with the people leading NJC for the future members. So they get the chance to have an honest and transparent conversation about what it's like to work at NJC, what have been their experiences. And here it really is a matter of seeing if the candidate fits NJC and seeing if NJC fits the candidate. So we really talk about their responsibilities, what they will have to do, and assess if they are ready to do it.
Okay, and as the recruitment process is a really important moment for your junior enterprise, you need to make sure that your members are prepared. You need to make sure that they know what they are doing, they know how to behave. And for that, we have here 3 suggestions for you. So the first one is for you to provide some support documents where you have all the information regarding the process. So your members can clarify all their doubts. They can answer with the documents all their questions. Then you can prepare a learning session to explain the key matters. You can highlight more logistic things if you want. And here we recommend you to include a role play, because especially for the interview, we have done this recently. And in the documents, you have a more theoretical part, let's say. And in a role play, they can see what actually happens. They can see how to handle the candidate and what a perfect candidate should look like. So this is really important and really useful, actually. In the end, you need to pick the right team. So what I advise you to do is for you to, in an assessment moment, to choose more experienced members in the recruitment process and more junior ones, let's say, so that they can teach with each other and learn with others and so that you can transmit all the knowledge inside the organization. Regarding more the process management, we have two focus here. We have the internal organization and we have the interaction with candidates. Starting with the internal organization, it is really important that everyone is aligned here so that the process can be smoother. And you need first then to prepare the support documents, as I told you. We have here some examples. You can adapt them to your recruitment process. You have the interview cases, the interview guidelines, and here an important one, the evaluation forms of the candidates. So one thing that we do is in every assessment moment, our members need to write a report or something like that with the candidate evaluation so that we can keep record of all the performance of a candidate from the beginning until the end of the process. After that, this is a recommendation. You should construct like maps with the availability of all your members, because then it is much easier to schedule any assessment moment, any group dynamics, and any interview. You know who you can count on in a certain moment. And for this, I have here Doodle. If you do not know it and you have some doubts, you can then send me an email. But it's really useful, this tool, and you can use it. In the end, you should send your members the email with all the information they need to know. So you schedule a group dynamic or an interview, and they need to know where will it be, when, and also they need to know the candidates beforehand. This is really useful. Regarding the interaction with the candidates, I think this is really important here, is that you need to be aware that this is an evaluation moment for them, you and your members. So everyone in a junior enterprise should know this. And of course, as a candidate, when you go to an interview, you are stressed, sometimes nervous, and we need to avoid any flaws during the recruitment process. So you select your candidates after analyzing all these documents. If they pass to the next phase, you should send them an email requesting their availability. And this is when you will match their availability with the availability of your members and schedule the group dynamics and the interview. Similar to what happens to your members, you need to send them an email informing them, and here the information is a little bit different. You need to tell them what will be the structure of the assessment moment so that they can be prepared and that they can know what to expect, and also the dress code. In the end, something that we really value a lot at NJC, you should send them an email with the results and with feedback. So this feedback is given by the members that evaluated the candidate. And for us, it is really important because we want this recruitment process to be a learning opportunity. Even if the candidate did not join NJC, we want him to grow. And maybe next semester you will apply again and you will be able to use this feedback to improve. And this is really important for us.
Okay, so now regarding how is our process similar or different in some cases to other strategy consulting firms? So on the top here, we have presented the recruitment process at NJC that I'm pretty sure by now you have quite understood by Mara's and Ricardo's explanation. And now regarding what is the recruitment process of major top-tier strategy consulting firms. So I put the logos here on the left side, so we can argue a lot which are the really top-tier strategy consulting firms. But in general, we all recognize that these are strategy consulting firms, and at least that these ones share this process. Please note that processes may vary a little bit from country to country, from company to company, but that in general the process is as I'll be presenting. So you start always by an application on the website, on the company's website, and you should upload your CV and cover letter, probably some other information, but all the remaining form is more is just more personal data. Then You will have probably a test or a game, once again depending on the country and on the company, and then usually you have several rounds of interviews until you can join. As you can see, we have kind of similar. It's kind of similar with what we do at NJC. Of course, the interview is the most similar part because we really benchmarked a lot on the interviews, and the only difference is the difficulty of the assessment we are performing. But apart from that, the interviews we perform at NJC follows exactly the same structure as the ones of top-tier strategy consulting firms. Also, we share the CV and cover letter, but we decided to replace the tests by the group dynamics, given that we believe that in order to assess junior entrepreneurs, it would be best for us to assess their teamwork, their ability to listen to others, their motivation in a group dynamic, than just their critical and analytical skills on a test. I forgot, I've been warned that at the beginning during my presentation, I forgot to mention that last year I was an intern at BCG, so I kind of know a little bit of what I'm talking about next, and I'm trying to share not only my personal experience but everything that I've learned and try to learn with many other people that went through the recruitment process in many companies and not just BCG. This is the recruitment process of these firms. How is it different from NJC? And then I will try to give you some tips and what I believe that are really important if you want to apply for these firms. At least this is what we always suggest to our members. That's what our alumni that are there share with us. So in general, we believe that these tips might help those who want to apply to be a little bit more successful, and at least we hope so. So everything starts at the application process, and the application process can start whenever you want, in the sense that it's really important to create a good impression already from the application process. So once you apply, you need to make sure that you create a good impression from the beginning, that you show that you are an excellent professional, but also that you are extremely motivated and are a good fit for the company. For that, of course, curriculum vitae is key. You need to show all your experiences. It should be really well developed, and it should be according to the industry you are applying to. Then also the cover letter is extremely important. It should not only present yourself and your experiences, but what do your experiences but why do you believe that your experiences fit in the company? Why do you believe that they are valuable for the company? And also to show your motivation towards the company. I believe that you should try to kind of balance everything inside the cover letter. Then as another recommendation, and this third point is extremely useful, especially for the cover letter. So if there is something that you believe that might not be clear in your CV, the cover letter is the perfect place to write and to explain a little bit more. So in the sense that if you, for example, had to miss a year because of something that happened, or like in your bachelor you had a GPA that was extremely low, but then in your master's degree you had an outstanding GPA, and maybe the problem that you had in your bachelor's is something that might happen to everyone. Like, this is a good moment to kind of explain why something did not go according to expected. Then another recommendation is to conduct networking. This is extremely important. You will surely benefit a lot from networking with HR, from networking with consultants. Every network you can conduct is extremely important, not only for you to better understand how is the company, what will you do there, and everything else, but you will be able to get to already start like selling yourself and presenting yourself to those who will be assessing you in the future. So I truly believe that to conduct network before you apply, it's really important. Then another recommendation is to always remember that you are under evaluation. So in any moment, from the moment you start networking until the moment you finish and you are called saying, okay, you got in, you are always under evaluation. So you should always be showing your fit to the company and to join the company. And of course, finally, you should ask other people about their experiences. So people that joined, people that went through, friends, so everyone you know that have been through the experience, ask them how was it, how did they prepare, what did they do, etc., etc. I truly believe that this is really important. So these are my recommendations regarding the application process. Regarding the assessment test. And here I will do special recommendations if your office or company does tests. If they are doing a game, to be honest, I didn't do game. Like at the time, the one I know that does games right now is McKinsey. At the time I was doing McKinsey process, it was still the PST. I'm not sure exactly about the game. I try to gain some knowledge about the game, and what I've been told is that it is quite hard to prepare yourself. This is something that the game will simply assess your knowledge and your ability to react quickly and under pressure. So I don't have specific recommendations for the game. I'm sorry for that, but regarding the test, what I recommend is first and foremost to practice. Practice everything you find, all the tests you find on the internet, no matter what the company is, do them and really simulate what would be the context. So for example, if for the PST they say, for McKinsey PST they say that test is to be performed in 1 hour and 15 minutes or in an hour, you should really put a timer, and at the end of an hour you check how did you do or not, so that you can really simulate what will be the real life experience once there. No matter if you are applying for McKinsey, still do the tests of the remaining ones. If you are applying for Bain, still do the tests of the remaining ones. I think it's a really great way to prepare, is to practice. Also, if you want to practice some exercises from the numerical part of GMAT, this is important. It will make you think faster and also train your numerical thinking. These tests are to be done in a really short period of time. You will be constantly under pressure, so be aware of time management. Don't get stuck if you don't know an answer. I always remember that when I was doing one of the tests, the last question was extremely easy, and if I did not simply pass the questions I didn't know, I would never arrive to the final question, and it would be a point that I've lost. So always try to manage the time, and don't get stuck if you don't know or if you are not being able to find the correct answer at that moment. You can get back in the end. Also, and this is a recommendation, that you should really check what works better for you. So you should start by first reading the question and then go and read the text. Why do I believe that this is a nice recommendation? Because if you read the questions first, once you go and read the support text, you already know what you are looking for. You will highlight the information that you specifically need to answer the questions. So this is why I believe this is nice. But here, in everything this applies, but especially for this recommendation, you should really check what works better for you. Then please be aware that in some of the tests, depending on the company, wrong answers count negative points. So try to be sure that you can that you know what you're answering, as you can be discounted on wrong answers. So in some of the tests, you cannot simply circle and pray that it will be the right answer. And finally, the mental math is really important here. You won't have access to calculators. As I said, the time is really short, so the more you are prepared for mental math, the best for you, because you will be able to do it much faster, and most importantly, you will be able to do it with no mistakes, which will enable you to answer correctly. So I truly believe that if you download math apps and everything, this will be a nice training for this as well. So now moving to the interview. And here in the interview, I splitted recommendations for the personal part, for the case part, and for the Q&A part. So starting with the first part, here the interviewer will want to know more about you, about your experiences, and what motivates you to join the company. So you will really have to show motivation for the industry. So why do you want consulting? Why do you believe you are a good fit for consultancy, but also for the company? Like, they all know that usually when people apply, they are applying to kind of all of them at the same time. So they really want to know, why do you believe that the company you are applying for at that moment is the right one? Also, they want to know your experiences, so they want you to be a well-rounded person. So what do I mean by a well-rounded person? That have different experiences. They want to make sure that you are not just a student that have extremely good grades, or that you are not just a person that has awesome internships, but at the academic part it was not good. So you want you to be like the perfect balance between everything, and that have several different experiences, from internships, from volunteering experience, from associations, from academic part, of course, that also has many other interests apart from studying or working. So try to show that you are a well-rounded person in that sense. Also, you know that if you read and if you prepare and if you talk to people that have been there, there are always typical questions on these interviews, like like leadership experiences and other experiences. So always prepare the typical questions. Also, the questions about motivation, they always appear. So prepare them and be comfortable about everything you have in your CV. I know that this is kind of it's straightforward, of course. Like, if it is my CV, I know everything, but you really need to know everything, because they won't be, for example, talking about Nova Junior Consulting. If I have Nova Junior Consulting in my CV, they will ask me questions about what do I do, what did I do, what did I learn, and everything in specific. So you should be prepared to answer every single question about your CV. Also, always be honest and natural. They want, and especially in this personal part, they want to really know you and to better know you. So that, like, in that sense, you will be able to like, they will always be thinking, do I want to work with a person that I have sitting in front of me? So do I want to be working with that person? Do I really like that person? So the more honest and natural you are, the more empathy you can create, the best it will be for you, because the interviewer will engage much more with you. Also, once again, you are always under evaluation, so show your feet. Don't relax yourself just because you are in a nice conversation with the interviewer. Always think that, so be honest and natural, as I said, but always remember that you are under evaluation and that you should prove your value once you are there. And finally, once you are presenting your experiences, so the experience I was talking about leadership, failure, challenges, how did you work under pressure, or how did you overcome challenges or situation of failure, everything. When you are talking about the experiences, try to be structured. And like here, for example, one of the methods you can try to use is the STAR method. But the key here is try to be structured. Now, moving to the case part of the interview, which is the part that lasts long in an interview, and that usually prepare the most for it. Here, the interviewer will be looking for your creativity, if you are structured or not, if you have a strategic and critical thinking. Also, they truly believe that the case is a good proxy for the work you develop once you are a consultant. So here, once again, and here I recommend you what I did, the same thing I said for the test. So train several cases. And do it either in pairs, so try to have people doing you cases and also do cases to others, because you also learn if you are in the interviewer position, or sometimes do it alone. Like, once again, here you should try to assess what works better for you. I did not do any case alone. I did all the cases I did to prepare was in pairs, because I truly believe that if you do it with someone else, it truly prepares you for the real life situation. But once again, you should try to understand, but always try to at least train some in pairs, because pairs is what really prepares you for the real life situation. Also, study some frameworks, but with caution. I always say that about caution, because frameworks are nice, it helps you to structure, it helps you not to forget relevant points, but at the same time, not everything is solved with frameworks. There are plenty of cases where it is extremely difficult to structure, and it is even more difficult to fit frameworks in it. So always be aware that frameworks are nice, but won't solve you everything. So study them, but don't think that they will solve all your problems, and that if you are in a case, and don't try to think, okay, so what is the framework that I can do here? Like, simply think and structure. If you do it, it's usually better than simply try to apply a framework. Then study some industries. Apart from like simply training cases, there are specific information for industries. So there are specific things that you should know about banking, about insurances, about energy, about aviation and airlines industry. So try to study industries and check what are the strongest ones in your office. So for example, if Oliver Wyman Madrid is extremely good at energy, I don't know, maybe you should try to learn something more on energy, because probably you will have several more cases on energy. Like, this is a recommendation that might be useful, but also be aware that it won't be like it might not save you. For example, I studied some industries that I thought that were more that the probability of appearing was higher, and then once I arrived there, it didn't appear any of the industries. Still, I think you really don't lose anything to study industries and key factors about each industry. Also always be structured. Structure is key. You should be structured in your reasoning, you should be structured in your paper, so always be structured and think out loud. The interviewer is there to assess the way you think, so if you don't share with him what you are thinking and how you are thinking, he won't be able to evaluate you. So always think out loud and always be structured in your reasoning. Everything should make sense, and your reasoning should be easy to follow by the person that is evaluating you. Also, ask time to think. So once the interviewer presents you the case, don't be afraid or ashamed to ask like 1 minute to think and to structure your case. This will make sure that you don't forget anything that you want to mention, that you will really present and it will help you to structure the entire case. So in 1 minute you will be able to structure it. Like, you won't be able to solve the case, that's not what I'm saying, but at least you'll be able to structure it. You see what is the initial framework and what is the initial scheme you want to go, and then it will be really useful to solve the case throughout the time. Usually at NJC, when I'm conducting interviews, when a candidate don't ask me time to think, I always say, okay, this is not going to go well, and usually it doesn't go well. This is really important, because this will really help you to structure it, and the interviewers will really be looking for structure once you are solving the case. And also another recommendation here is always at the beginning you should you should consider all the hypotheses. So you should always consider that there are important things to always consider at the beginning, and that you should always eliminate them throughout the process and not simply forget them at the beginning. Then also regarding the still in the case part of the interview, remember that at the beginning the interviewer won't be providing you with the full information, so you should usually ask questions to get more data. Also, they are there to put you under pressure. They will try to always ask questions to defy what you are saying, so keep calm. If an interviewer is being extremely nice with you, does not mean that the candidate that your interview is being awesome. But if an interviewer is being extremely rough with you, also doesn't mean that the interviewer is being a disaster. So always keep calm. They are there to pressure you, to evaluate you. They all have different personalities, so they will do it in different ways. So always keep calm. Keep a cold head and always proceed. You are there to do a job, which is to solve the case, so simply solve the case. Then, as I said, be structured on paper. Here, to be structured on paper, I have a few recommendations. So write what are the key questions that you want to answer. Always write down the important data that the interviewer is giving you. Once you arrive to a final result, always highlight them or circle them so that you can easily identify them. Also use some arrows in your scheme so that you know where to proceed next. You should also number the pages like on the top or in the bottom in any corner, so that like you will probably be using several pages to solve the case. So you always know where is the first one and where is the last one, and always use bullet points. It's really useful. Also, in the end of the interview, probably your interviewer will always ask you to summarize your case and your conclusion. You can do it in different ways. Usually what they say is that, okay, the client is outside, you will join us in 30 seconds or 1 minute, and you should provide him with a 1-minute summary of your recommendations. So here for this summary, you should make sure that, of course, you answer the question or you give the recommendation that you were asked for. So never forget that. And actually, I believe that you should start by doing this, by really giving the recommendation, and then tell them what did you find out. So doing your analysis, so you do the recommendation and what did you find out and how did you find out that, and then I believe that the structure on paper is really important, because this will really be useful once you are doing this summary, because you can simply take advantage of the structure you have on the paper and simply follow. So you are in a page, you check the page, you are talking, and once you talk about everything on that page, you simply move. When I say talk about everything relevant, so like the results you highlighted and the recommendations you really want to give. Finally, there are useful resources that you can use to train for these interviews. I recommend Prep Launch for cases. Big Interview will especially help for the personal part of the interview. There are plenty of YouTube videos that prepare you for this. Actually, in YouTube, there are videos that prepare you for different companies, and they even explain you that for McKinsey, you should probably do this, for BCG that, for Bain that. So YouTube is always a nice channel. Then always read companies' website about the industries, about the offices, about what do they look for, because sometimes they even share that what they really look for. So of course companies' websites are basic. Also there are several interview books. I actually did the majority of my cases via these books, and they are really good. And finally, probably the majority of your universities have career services. Consulting, especially in business schools, is an area where many students are interested in. So take advantage of the career services of your universities as well, so that you can so that they can help you, because they might have someone specialized to help you on it, or also they can also recommend you resources. For example, at Nova, we have Prep Launch and Big Interview completely free for us to use. Finally, regarding the questions part of the interview, here this is your turn to ask questions to the interviewer. And here you can show your motivation and also really show that you are interested in the company and in the industry. Here, like, the interviewer will say, okay, now do you have any question? You can only have one answer, it is yes. You always need to have questions. If you don't have questions, it shows that you have no interest on the company, or you didn't research that much to have questions. So you really always need to have questions. To be safe, always prepare 2 questions before you go to the interview. Like, they can be general questions, as like, what was your biggest challenge, or why do you really like working here, or something like that. But at least always have questions. Always have 1-2 questions that you can prepare in case you don't remember anything on the spot. Also take advantage of points in common that you might have with the interviewer. If you do surf and you see that interviewer does surf as well, like, try to find some question that might connect that, or try to talk a little bit about that. So always try to get the points in common, because it will create more empathy. At the beginning, before the interview starts, you will be given usually the bio of the interviewer. So read it. Read it and pay attention, because once you are reading it, you might find that points of common with the interviewer, but also might find interesting topics that might lead to potential questions. And you can ask questions of many types, about the firm that you are applying, about the job and what do they do in the job, and also about the interviewer, him or herself. Of course, keep it in a professional way. So you can ask, like, for example, if you're talking about surf, like, so can you still balance surf with your work, with your workload and everything? Like, you can ask personal questions if they are still in a professional way. So these are kind of the recommendations I have regarding the interview part. I will be able to answer all your questions in the end if you still have them. And now Ricardo will present you this final part of our presentation.
Yeah, so now finally for some key takeaways. We strongly believe that NJC has benefited both internally and externally from having this recruitment process aligned with the main target companies for our members. By doing so, we have achieved a very high placement in strategy consulting firms, which has provided us a very strong alumni network that guide our work, guide our projects, and we learn a lot of insights and methodologies from them. This is one of the reasons why we believe this helps us provide better output for our clients. And another one is that because we have our recruitment organized how these industry leader firms organize theirs, we manage to attract and retain the students with the specific characteristics that are valuable working in strategy consulting and that are valuable in a consultant. These people are prepared and willing to work under our methodologies. Also, the fact that we have high placement and a very professional structures makes top-tier firms recognize the talent within NJC, and they actively want to work with us. So every year we have learning sessions, quiz competitions, networking cocktails, and they are present in the events that we organize. Finally, this is one of the best ways to have motivated members. They understand that all of the efforts that they put into the process, into their work, are valued by these companies and will be useful in the pursuit of their dream job. And that's one of the best things that NJC can provide them. A huge thank you for sticking with us and for your attention. Now we are available to answer any questions that you have, so feel free to ask them. We love talking about this topic, so go ahead.
So right now we already have a question from Dora, and the question is, how do you attract and retain? How do you attract talent that would fit into NJC's culture? And the other question is, how do you retain experienced talent needed for the team? So I don't know, Mara, do you want to?
Yes, maybe I can answer that. So I would start to say that we have a very professional image. So novice students look at us as a real enterprise. We are a junior enterprise, and we provide them real experiences. They can work with clients, and this is really valuable, especially when you don't have that much professional experience. And you can grow with us, you can learn with us, you can work with people that are your age more or less, but have all this experience, all this work experience, and in a good environment. I would say that usually during our recruitment process, we have a strong communication plan. We are always in communication with our marketing department, actually marketing director, and we try to pass this message to our novice SP students. And regarding the question, how do we retain experienced talents at NJC? We really value to provide them a good experience. So when we have our members, we do not want to lose them. We try to create a good environment. We try to make them feel that they are part of something. We have team building activities. We help them grow and develop themselves with our learning sessions, with our alumni, and we try to help each other in everything that we can.
And I think, sorry, Mari, if I can add about that topic about how do we retain, like especially the really good talent. I think that we also promote, we like the career progression is quite clear at NJC, and so when someone is really talented, we also make sure that those who are really good are promoted, so that they also don't get sorry, I'm missing the word, like don't believe that they have nothing to progress for. So like to provide them with the right incentives, I would say. So we make sure we also recognize that talent, so that they stay with us. So that's it. Okay, so okay, so
we have a few more. I think these ones are also targeted at Mara.
Yeah. So
so how do you handle the recruitment process digital? What do you do? And what are the differences in your recruitment process? How do you guarantee you to find motivated people online?
Okay, so what I can, we are handling that right now. We are thinking about doing everything online as it is expected. So both the group dynamics and the interview. Regarding the motivation, we are thinking about doing the motivational assessments personally, I'd say. And here you can really understand if people are committed or not. Regarding the interview and the group dynamics, it would work exactly the same way, but online. So we would do this. I don't know if you have anything to add, Ricardo. But
yeah, I definitely think that the fact that it will be online will come as a challenge. So it will be harder to assess how they work and their motivation. And that's also one of the reasons why we still want to have that last phase physically, because that one is specifically to assess motivation. From our experience, usually the candidates that get to that point are already very well selected, and it's not very often that people don't go past that point. We will find different conclusions, hopefully not. But yeah, we've had to adapt our entire process to being online, and it's been a challenge. I think it will require a lot of effort from our marketing teams, from our communication of the recruitment. But it's that, and I don't think there's much more that we can do so far.
okay, so moving to
we have another one. How did you learn? You want to add in?
Oh no! I was already moving to the next question. So go for it, Kika.
Yeah. Now, I was just saying that we have another question. So how did you learn these things from consulting firms? What kind of projects do you have with them? So maybe I can begin, and then Francisco. will complete if necessary. So how we learn these things from consulting firms? First of all, a lot of benchmarking about the things that they have on their websites, about the things that they communicate. Also, a lot of our members and a lot of our more senior structure has already taken part in these recruitment processes. So we here have the example of Francisco that already has been a BCG summer intern. So he went through all of these processes. He knows what's the best to do in one situation or the other. So that's one strong point, is research on our own. Then another one is our alumni. So as I mentioned before, we've had over 40 alumni working in these companies. And these are the people also that tells us what these companies value, how to go through these processes. We got a lot of insights from them, and we gained a lot by having a good relationship with them. So that's it regarding this one for me. Now I'll just address the other one. What kind of projects do we do with them? So we do a lot of collaboration with them, not necessarily projects per se. So for example, every year we have learning sessions. These can be from the most varied topics, from recruitment to project structuring, for example. We participate in networking cocktails. They come to the events that we organize to give webinars, seminars, learning sessions, talks in our events. And also another thing that we do with them is, for example, case competitions, to get our members involved in how they think, how they approach the cases, and what they should do in order to be better. I don't know if Francisco wants to add anything on this.
No, I'd say that that's it. So we, as Ricardo said, we do research on our own. We rely on our alumni that are placed there to provide us with really good information on it and to help us prepare to get all that information. And then, yeah, we work side by side with these companies, especially as kind of learning partners. And yeah, like we have learning sessions with them. We have cocktails and events with them. And we have case competitions with them. So that's where we gain the majority of our knowledge on this topic. Okay, so yeah, I don't know if someone else has more questions or if we were able to properly answer the previous questions. Like if not, you can just let us know and ask again, and we will try to explain in better or in a different way.
Thank you, Francisco, Mara, and Ricardo. Thank you for this amazing webinar, and thank you Nova Junior Consulting for this webinar. Maybe we can wait in 1 more minute if they have more questions, because sometimes we have a delay between the Zoom and the YouTube live. But if we don't have more questions,
If anyone has any extra questions that they're not thinking now, that they remember later, they have our contact, so they can feel free to reach us, and we will try to explain everything.
it's true, Ricardo. Maybe they don't have more questions. Yeah, we can say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you very much for coming, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you to be there with us in a Saturday morning. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, JEE Europe, for the invitation as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.